Hello dear students, we will today discuss the poem The Soul's Prayer by Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu, also known as Sarojini Chattopadhyay, was born on February 13, 1879 in Hyderabad, India, and she died on March 2, 1949 in Lucknow. She was a famous political activist, feminist, poet, and the first Indian woman to be the president of Indian National Congress and to be appointed as an Indian state governor in one of the states in India. She was sometimes called the Nightingale of India. She entered the University of Madras at the age of 12 and studied at King's College, London, and later at Girton College, Cambridge. She was drawn to India's Congress movement and to Mahatma Gandhi's non-cooperation movement. In 1924, she travelled in Eastern Africa and South Africa in the interest of Indians there, and the following year became the first Indian woman president of the Indian National Congress, having been preceded 8 years earlier by the English feminist Annie Besant. In 1947, she became governor of the United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh, a post she retained until her death. Her first volume of poetry, The Golden Threshold, came out in 1905 and was followed by The Bird of Time in 1912. And in 1914, she was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, and her collected poems, all of which she wrote in English, of course, have been published under the titles The Sceptred Flute, which came out in 1928, and The Feather of Dawn in 1961. So now let's start the poem, The Soul's Prayer by Sarojini Naidu. Now, the Soul's Prayer may be seen as a part of a mystical tradition. The speaker or the poet recollects in awe and humility the childhood dialogues she had with God. She recollects all the things she asked from God when she was still naive and so did not understand that understanding everything is not fathomable. The first three stanzas of this poem represent the child's desire for knowledge, and the subsequent four stanzas record God's response and final truth. The poem succeeds in a simple way to allow the reader a glimpse, at least, on the mystery of the Creator, and indeed in many places, however tiny it may be, the scheme of the universe. So let's start the poem. The poem, The Soul's Prayer by Sarojini Naidu. In childhood's pride I said to thee, O thou who madest me of thy breath, speak, Master, and reveal to me thine inmost laws of life and death. In childhood's pride I said to thee. Now, this child, the poet, is quite proud to be the child of God, because she believes that, O thou who madest me of thy breath. So she believes that she was made out of the breath of God. So she is quite proud to be the child of God because she was created by God Himself. The Spirit of God resides in her, and she says, she asks the God, speak, Master, and reveal to me thine inmost laws of life and death. So the child makes a blind prayer to God and pleads with Him to reveal the various metaphysical aspects of life and death, the nature of existence, the laws of life and death. Here the speaker is searching for the inmost laws of life and death, seeking answers to questions that strike at the heart of the living and consciousness. Give me to drink each joy and pain which thine eternal hand can meet, for my insatiate soul would drain earth's utmost bitter, utmost sweet. Now the poetess prays to God to feel everything in this whole world, all life's joys and pain at the most intense levels. Not only she craves for bliss in life, but she is ready to keep abreast of every pang of strife and struggle. Now here the poem has an autobiographical tone as well, when she desires to experience every type of situation in life, as she is ever ready to face dangers. Now she was a lifelong struggling from ill health and chronic heart weaknesses, and she plunges headlong into the battle of India's freedom struggle as well. She believes that it is only when she passes through the trials and tribulations of life that her soul would be completely satisfied. Spare me no bliss, no pang of strife, withhold no gift or grief I crave. the intricate lore of love and life and mystic knowledge of the grave. The poetess does not want to be spared of any form of euphoria. She does not want to be divorced from any form of strife. For her, both gift and grief are welcome blessings, and she craves for it. She longs for the intricate wisdom of love and life that has hitherto eluded her, and she also deeply craves for the mystic knowledge of the grave that has hitherto been unexplored. Lord, thou didst answer stern and low, child, I will hearken to thy prayer, and thy unconquered soul shall know all passionate rapture and despair. Here the poetess acknowledges God's answer to her prayers and is assured that he would heed to her prayers. The God ascertains that her soul would experience all the passionate raptures, that is happiness, and unfelt despairs, that is sorrows. The Almighty deals with her in a stern but down-to-earth manner. Look at those lines. Lord, thou didst answer stern and low. He addresses her as child, which shows the intimacy and intricacy of the bond that they shared, and it also reflects the protectiveness and a sense of security. The term unconquered in the line implies lack of experience, and therefore it also implies that her soul is pure. Thou shalt drink deep of joy and fame, and love shall burn thee like a fire, and pain shall cleanse thee like a flame, to purge the dross from thy desire. He assures, the God assures the poetess that she shall drink both joy and fame. That means she shall experience both joy and fame. The word drink connotes the act of relishing and quenching of one's thirst. And he also assures her that love will consume her with a fiery passion. Now, the poetess shall be cleansed by pain akin to the flame of purgation, and it will also purify the dross or impurities from her desire and thereby render it pure. So shall thy chastened spirit earn to seek from its blind prayer release, and spent and pardoned suit to learn the simple secret of my peace. Here she talks about her chastened spirit, that is the spirit which has gone through the pangs of joy and sorrow. Now her chastened spirit will thus aspire for salvation. So after going through all the pangs of joy and sorrow, her spirit will aspire for salvation. As the soul will be satiated, satisfied of these extremes, that is the extremities of intense joy and pain, she will now long for peace. In such a stance, in such a circumstance, it will seek release from its blind, unconditional prayer. That is what God says. God says that, so shall thy chastened spirit earn to seek from its blind prayer release. So after going through all these circumstances of life, the spirit will seek release from its blind, unconditional prayer. The prayer places infinite faith in God without rationalization. That is why it is called as blind prayer. Now, after going through such experiences with, after her soul is spent with time and experience and incessant praying, it will reach another level, a state of bliss. In such a state, it would effortlessly master the secret of the peace of God. So when the soul reaches that level, it will effortlessly master the secret of God. That means the peace of God. So the word secret is used here to highlight the enigma and aura behind this spiritual affinity when he says, the simple secret of my peace. I, bending from my sevenfold height, will teach thee of my quickening grace. Life is a prism of my light, and death the shadow of my face. So God says that he will bend from his sevenfold height. Now sevenfold height is it is an allusion. Seven has always been an attribute to describe divinity. Whether it has been used with references like seventh heaven or in biblical allusions regarding God's creation of the world in 7 days. So he is saying that he will bend from his sevenfold height, that is from heaven, and will teach thee of my quickening grace. Now, so God says that he will imbibe in the pietist his quickening grace. Now, his grace, the grace of God, is all encompassing, flexible and swift. That's why it said my quickening grace. Now, he also says that life is a prism of my light. Okay, so it looks like a prism. Life is like a prism where his light, the light of God, it can be compared to a white light, which is symbolic of purity. It enters the realm of the earth and fills our life with different hues and colors. Okay, so he says that life is a prism of my light and death the shadow of my face. And he even says that, God even says that death is the shadow of his face, as destruction is inevitable for creation, meaningful change and procreation. So it shows how life and death are intricately interlinked. It also shows us that life and death are the two faces of God, and he is present there always. So that is why he says that life is a prism of my light and death the shadow of my face. So in this life we have to move through life and death as well, but at the same time he also assures us that he will always be there, even if it is through life or through death. So that is what this poem is all about. Thank you.